Welcome to the Richmond Film Network Podcast, your all-access pass to the world of independent cinema. Each week, we go beyond the credits and sit down with the creatives who turn vision into reality. Tune in weekly to find out who's on the RFN Pod.
Welcome to the Richmond Film Network Podcast. My name is Lisa Giles, and I am the host for today's podcast, and we are so excited to have Will Sidaros with us today. He is the director of the film Humanity, which is screening next Saturday, May 17th at RFN Indie Fest in the, which block are you in? You're the 430 block, right? Shortcuts?
Oh, yeah.
430 block at the Park RVA. So we hope you can all join us. Will, thank you so much for being with us today.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Let me tell the people a little bit about you. First of all, you're very modest. Your bio is this big when it could be this big. But what you have given us on IMDb is that you have dreamed of becoming a director from a young age, making short films with your friends and family. As you developed your craft, you learned how films impacted the world around you and knew the positive change that you could bring. You hope to bring people together from around the world, which you have done, through the art of filmmaking. Your films, you've got 10 that are on IMDb.
Yeah, I think so. Oh my goodness.
5, Camfecting, Nice to Meet You, The Perfect Match, Always and Forever, Hit and Split, Blackout, Hello, Star Swine, and Humanity.
Yep.
So that's quite a lot for such a young guy.
Yeah, I mean, luckily, I've been surrounded by such talented people that have allowed me to really push my vision and push myself, really. You know, whenever we talk about filmmaking, we often get really trapped in a mindset that it's going to take a really long time to
Yes.
put something off the ground and to find money for it. And I like to really push beyond that. And a lot of the help came from the 48, which allowed for a quick turnaround. Obviously, you do it, you write it, you shoot it, you edit it in 48 hours. But also on top of that, just doing my own personal side projects with that same mindset that it can be done for cheaper. And you know, even though some people might be working for free, it's about returning that favor later on and remembering, you know, who helped and making sure they get their dreams fully realized too. It's about the community too.
That is so important, especially in the independent film world where you don't have a lot of resources, and doing favors for each other. Someone helps you on a project, you turn around and help someone else on a project.
Yeah.
So let's talk about Humanity. The log line of the film is 7 strangers from around the world are brought together by a single profound question: should humanity live? Their answers reveal the diverse hopes, fears, and truths that define us all. And as you briefly mentioned, this was part of the 48-hour film project competition where you did this film in 48 hours. But not only that, you had units on all 7 continents filming simultaneously, and it was completed in 48 hours. You make the story, you manage these units, it's done in 48 hours. That's ridiculous. It's ridiculous to do it in any amount of time, but much less 48 hours. So tell us the magic that went into coordination and making that all happen. First of all, how did you find these units? How did you, I mean, that, you know, is insane to imagine how you even found these people who were willing to do this and then coordinate them in such a small amount of time. I know I asked you 5 questions. So just go, Will, just go.
Well, first of all, the way this happened was I had an amazing team. I could not do this alone. There was no way that I could both direct something in Richmond and also coordinate with 6 other units internationally. I had an amazing group of producers who really assisted and led the charge when it came to answering the international units questions, making sure they had everything they needed, whether it be camera settings, audio set, like making sure everything kind of stayed uniform throughout the process. I just had an amazing team helping me do that. There was no way I could do that alone. And I credit this success just as much to them because, again, I could not do this by myself. And so when it came to coordinating on the day, I like to think the 48 hours actually helped us because, like I mentioned earlier, we really get dragged in or down on the longevity of a project. It takes a lot of time to get funding. It takes a lot of time to do production. It takes a lot of time to get into post-production. And I feel like the fact that we had to do everything in 48 hours actually came to an advantage because people we had to get this done. We had to do this right now for this competition. And so when it came to coordinating with the six other continents, the time zones really played a big factor in that. Our midnight was, I believe, Shanghai's 4 p.m., was Antarctica's 5 p.m., was Australia's 2 p.m. And so when I went to bed, they can get right to work. And so by the time I woke up Saturday morning to begin my day, 3 continents were already wrapped and finished. And I was ready to go. And by the time I think I wrapped my day, we were the last ones done. And we took our time, and it was about 3 p.m. when we finished on Saturday. And so we all took this big chunk of a 7-minute film and divided it essentially into 1 minute each way, which made it a lot easier for us to just do. How I found these continents were really interesting, where I kind of utilized the 48-hour film network to my advantage. I looked at the past winners of other continents. I got a chance to really review people's work well before I even interviewed them. I liked their work. I liked their energy based on what I saw online. And I reached out on Instagram. And it was that simple. Most of the time, it took a couple of meetings to really nail down whether or not they were interested. But in the case of someone like Antarctica, I reached out to them after watching their film. Fun fact, Antarctica has their own 48-hour film competition, which was amazing. Not a part of the actual 48, but kind of something they do between stations. And so I reached out to the winner, Connor, and within the day, he replied and said he was interested in having a meeting at, I think, 4 p.m. his time, 1 a.m. my time. And I was like, I'll be there. And the next day, he agreed to come on board. And it was kind of just that simple. I'm doing something really grand. I'm doing it not for me. I'm kind of doing it for, I don't know. I really wanted to push the boundaries and tell a different story. And so people were really drawn to that idea. And so for me to contact people, it wasn't like I'm saying, hey, look, we're going to make an American film and it's about America and you're here to support the American film. It was actually, hey, I'm making this international project that has to do about humanity, where humanity is center stage, not America, not Europe, not like it's all about all of us. And so it's been I was very blessed to have such an amazing team.
So directors Werner Herzog and Mark Terry, if you do a Google search, they're the only 2 directors that have worked on all 7 continents. But you're the first to do it simultaneously on all 7 continents. So how does it feel to be ranked up there with those guys to break ground in this new way?
I think it's really exhilarating, primarily because it opens doors. I think a lot of people have a lot of doubts about what they can do. And I certainly had doubts that we might be able to do this. And the moment we finished, and the moment we told this story, I noticed immediately online people wanting to tell more like it. People wanted to do a film on every continent. People really wanted to make sure that they had something similar. And for me, it was about the fact that I opened a door, I think, that allowed people to hear more voices and allowed for more inclusivity
and cultural exchange in that.
And I mean, I learned so much during this, not only about myself, but about other cultures and about other ways of life that I never even thought about until making this project. And so
give me an example. Give me an example of that. What city? It was in China, right?
Yes, we worked with Shanghai in China. Okay. And it was interesting to learn about their film program or their film industry in Shanghai, where they told me it's actually relatively small. It's relatively smaller over there and not as prominent as you might think for a city that size. It was just fascinating, whether it was our team in Brazil or Amsterdam, in Kenya, in Brisbane, Australia, or in Casey Station, like learning about just in general how to have a science station in Antarctica.
All right.
And how this person, Connor, continuously does videos just for his YouTube channel and just for himself. And these are such incredible people. Jordana, Joseph, Nice, Finton, Vicky, and Connor. Oh my God, was that everyone? I think so. They're incredible people, and I really could not have done this without them.
So the 48 requires you to incorporate a character, prop, line of dialogue, and genre. Tell us what those mandates were, and then how receiving those mandates shaped the story, knowing you were going to have to do this with 6 other continents.
Mm-hmm. Before I even received any of that, I told my team I had a really clear vision for this project. And I didn't know, obviously, what it would be about. You can't do anything creative beforehand. But what I knew is I wanted to make something positive. Regardless of the genre we received, I was going to flip it. It was going to be something brand new. I was going to kind of, if it was a thriller, I would have made a thriller, and then it became really positive at the end. I felt the project became too big for the competition in a way that it felt weird to say something negative, even if it was a part of the competition. The fact that we had done this collaboration in general, it felt like a disservice to do something negative instead of positive, because look at what we accomplished. Clearly there's something amazing and magical happening. Let's tell a depressing story. No, like I wanted to tell something that was really, in a time we live in, I think hope is hard right now. And if you bring people together and then still say that, I feel like that's kind of doesn't really match. But to answer your question, we got drama as our genre, and I believe thriller, but we picked drama. The prop was a glove, a hand glove. The line of dialogue was, "It's your choice what's going to be." And the character was a hotel employee. And so immediately my eyes lit up when we saw drama, because I was able to imprint basically anything onto that. I was like, okay, I could tell a positive story with some negativity, but then turn it positive. Okay, I can do what I want. Great. I don't know what we're going to do, but yes. And then luckily the line really came in to help us, because it implied a choice. It's your choice. What's it going to be? And because we have 7 continents and 7 different sections of this 7-minute movie, we can't have too much dialogue. So how can we implement a line like this that implies a choice, but kind of everyone has to make a choice? Because it's not like, oh, that one guy in Antarctica has to make a choice. It kind of would feel weird if only he had to make a choice and no one else did. So we felt, okay, everyone has to make some type of choice, and it has to be something that is profound. It's not like, hey, do you like waffles or pancakes? And that's your choice. What's it going to be? We felt it had to be something significant because you had this global initiative to begin with. And so, should humanity live? It's your choice. What's it going to be?
So what do you think humanity ultimately says about us as a global community?
It's interesting. I before making this project, I'm constantly surrounded by social media, and as weird as it sounds, a lot of negativity, right? And I made humanity, and I didn't know how people would take it. It felt to me that I believed that a lot of people would see it and go, yeah, but no, they shouldn't live. Like, humanity shouldn't live. Hit no. And I talked to a lot of people, and a lot of people were really moved by it. And they said that, yes, it's a definite yes. People should. And it surprised me very much. I expected a lot of people to say no. I did a couple of social media polls just to kind of as a joke, and a lot of people leaned in the direction of yes. And so to answer your question, I think humanity, what it says about us and it shows us is that I think people are ready to hope. and are looking for that kind of symbol and that calling. I don't know if that answers your question, but I think people are unfortunately eager and ready to hate. They're really quick to it. But I think when it really matters, and when people are actually looking for something, like looking for help or looking to find the kindness in people, they're eager to find that. Does that make sense?
Yes, sure.
Mm.
So, your mission to connect people through cinema, how has that changed with this film, or has it changed from your early goal? And now that you've done this film, has making this film changed that vision, or at least changed the way you go about it?
Absolutely. I think before, my goal was purely directing and nothing else. I only wanted to be a director, maybe some producing on the sides. After doing Humanity, I learned how much I love producing and how much I love to amplify voices. And that's what I really learned about this process, is not only do I want to continue to connect filmmakers around the world by my own projects, because I feel like this kind of opened a door to new kinds of storytelling. Like to suddenly say I can cut to Antarctica, or cut to Brazil, or cut to China, is an interesting thing now, because we're already so interconnected. Why aren't our stories?
Mm.
We don't see a lot of that, where, oh, let me call my friend and they're in Kenya, and they are just being like humans be. And so I think I like to think mentally for myself, I've opened a lot of doors for new kind of stories, or at least new opportunities to tell different stories. And so what I've learned through this process, especially with wanting to become a producer, I want to amplify voices that aren't really heard as much. What was that?
I love that.
Oh, thank you. I felt this responsibility to, if I am the one that has an opportunity, and I am fortunate enough to kind of be like a microphone for someone else, I'm going to bring in people that have a unique story to tell, but also a voice that hasn't been heard as much. I feel like,
you say if you have an opportunity. Will, I've known you for 3 years now, and I've watched your evolution as a filmmaker. And I think a lot of what I've observed is that you're creating your own opportunities. Nobody's handing these opportunities. Oh, Will, here, make this movie. You've created your own opportunities. That's, what independent filmmaking is.
mm-hmm.
But that makes a difference in that, that you're creating the opportunity versus waiting.
That's true.
For them to fall in your lap.
True. Okay. I like that. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Well, when it comes to creating opportunities, it's about finding voices that haven't really been heard and using my opportunity to really elevate those voices and elevate that, because I think they deserve it. And I think they are incredible people that deserve to be heard.
Are you able to give me any specifics on what that might be in the future?
Ever since I did Humanity, it kind of felt weird to then transition back to a normal short film. It kind of felt weird to me, oddly enough, because to cut to, I mean, don't get me wrong, there will always be stories that are in one place and they want to just be in a singular room and that's it. And I love that. It felt weird to try to go back to that after Humanity. I felt like I said, the door is opened. I feel like I wanted to explore this kind of storytelling.
The bar is higher.
The bar is higher. My perspective has changed. And so the next thing that I'm currently working on is Humanity, but as a feature, is taking the concept, growing it into something that I don't need to do in 48 hours, something that I can pre-write, something that I can plan and plan and plan, because the only obstacle we ever faced was the 48-hour barriers. And so amplifying the story we just told but doing it on a feature scale that has never been done before, intertwining 7 narratives into one with, we believe, to be the same profound question being asked. And so right now, what I'm doing, you can't see it, it's on my walls, is planning what that might look like. And again, I might not do it. Who knows? Maybe I'll notice that 7 is just too much and it won't work. But again, it opened that door, and I want to explore that, because whenever I pitch humanity, or whenever I tell people about humanity, people are not only amazed by it logistically and creatively, they're amazed by it, its ability to tell voices that they've never heard.
Maybe those voices who don't get to speak in the short form actually get to tell their story
Yeah,
with
which would be
dialogue.
amazing. I mean, just imagining 7 different cultures, 7 different languages. That just sounds like so much fun. And instead of me directing every continent, my plan is for them to direct their own continent, and for them to essentially, as long as it fits what we're doing narratively, to write their own story.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not my voice. It's not fair for me to dictate your voice.
Mm.
If it fits the narrative that we're going for, I love that. I'm going to work with you to make sure that it maintains that clarity throughout. But I'm going to be there essentially to just make sure things are running smoothly. And that's it. It's your voice. And we get to put it all together in this massive thing. But on its own, it could be 7 short films.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So we'll see. I've tried to do research. I can't find anything like it.
So if you had unlimited, shifting gears a little bit, if you had unlimited, and maybe the answer is for this project, but if you had unlimited resources and time, what does your dream project look like?
My dream project is not humanity, although I love humanity and I'm very excited to do humanity. And I'm very excited to do the travel for humanity and learning about different cultures for humanity. Throw that aside. I've always wanted to make my, what's it called? It's like it's a feature film series where it's about a post-apocalyptic world with gods and demigods. And I've loved this story. I wrote it when I was in high school, and I wrote it. I did it as my senior capstone in college, and I've loved it so much. I actually wrote the first feature while COVID happened. I wrote it in like 4 days just to see if I could. And I always have that as a late game thing to do later. Hopefully, if I'm rich and famous and I have all the resources, the unlimited monies and stuff, that's what I'm looking forward to doing one day.
That sounds like a very different kind of Will Sidaros films. I look forward to that.
That was the first thought I had.
So, what advice would you give to other filmmakers who want to push their creative and logistical boundaries the way that you have?
I think when it comes to pushing the limits, first, I think you need to get the basics down. I think you need to understand who you are as a creator. I think you need to find a team that you really love working with, because if you didn't know what you were doing and also did not have a great team around you, then pushing the limits don't really go anywhere. I say work on your fundamentals, make sure you have a solid understanding of what you're really good at, and then build your team around that. Because I'm beginning to learn I'm a pretty good producer and someone who loves to orchestrate big things, lots of moving parts for humanity. We had a very large team, and I enjoy teaching other people, which is why we had a larger team. But find what you're good at and amplify your strengths, and then try to push the boundaries. I've had a lot of filmmakers that would come to me and really pitch this idea. And I'm like, can you do that? Like right now, can you see a path to that? You want to open a giant hole in the sky and have things rain down from it? Can you do that? And they go, no. And I'm like, so why are you right? Like, Work on your fundamentals first. Make sure you know how to tell a really good story. After that, once you feel like you really got a good handle on your vision, your voice, go back to that hole in the sky. Go back to that. Give it a try. Push the boundaries, because I think we all should push our boundaries. We got to find what your limit is first and then push beyond it.
Wise words, Mr. Sidaros.
Thank you.
So we're disappointed that you won't be able to be with us next week. You'll be at your brother's graduation.
Yes.
But you will have a representative there to speak about the film. So meanwhile, how can those who are interested in following your journey find you?
Well, they can find me on Instagram at Will Sidaros, Will Sidaros. I post regularly about what I'm kind of working on. No one uses Facebook anymore, so I'm not really. I'm on there, but don't message me there. I'll never see it.
Well, this has been great fun. I appreciate you being with us, and I know you've got to shoot right after this.
Yes.
Is that something you can talk about?
Oh, it's for a wedding, so.
Oh, okay.
Don't worry. That was not as fun.
Well, thank you so much for being with us. This was great fun.
Thank you for having me, Lisa. I appreciate it.
That's a wrap for this episode of the Richmond Film Network podcast. Thanks to our guest and to you, our listeners, for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe, comment, and share. Tune in next week to see who's on the RFN pod. Until then, keep the cameras rolling.